Hello, welcome to Note Topic, Comment Selection, and Preemption Checking. My name is Heather White-Caddis, and I have been with Lexis for 25 years, working with New York and New Jersey law schools and firms. Prior to this position, I worked at Holland & Knight in NYC as a litigation associate. I was the EIC for the Journal of Gender and Law at Columbia, so I'll also be incorporating tips as a former editor throughout this webinar. Before we begin, I want to point out Lexis Plus AI, as we will be using it during today's training. As you can see from the page, Lexis Plus AI is part of the Lexis Plus integrated ecosystem. You have the best of both worlds, the advantage of all the resources in Lexis Plus, along with Gen AI capability. So I'm going to click for a moment here on Lexis Plus AI in the experience bar. What can Lexis Plus AI do? It can perform 3 tasks routinely performed by students and faculty. Ask a legal question, which is a conversational search for complex research, along with hyperlink citations to primary and/or secondary sources. Generate a draft, which will create emails, letters, legal memos, legal arguments, and clauses, and include those hyperlink citations. And summarize a case, which will summarize any case, both published and unpublished. We'll be using Ask a Legal Question and Summarize a Case today. If you want to learn more about Lexis Plus AI, please reach out to your Lexis rep. So we're going to return now to the legal research page. First thing we're going to talk about is, should you write a note or a comment? Now, please note that your journal's definition of a comment or a note may be the opposite of what I discuss here, i.e. they call a comment what I call a comment a note, and they call what I call a note a comment. So please proceed accordingly. A comment is an article on a recent case and its impact on area or areas of law. Comments tend to be easier to write because most of the sources you need are already included in the case itself. A note is an article that focuses on a current legal controversy. For example, it can be about a circuit split, inconsistencies between or across jurisdictions, a significant case with valid reasoning in the opinion and dissent, an argument for legal reform, an analysis of the law in relation to other fields of study, such as economics, history, or religion, or a discussion of issues caused by a recently enacted law. It needs to be written on a legal development that has occurred within about the last year or so. It needs to be useful, not be moot before possible publication, and to have a clear central theme. Notes tend to be more challenging to write than comments. So we're going to focus on comments first, and I'm going to give you 2 considerations that I think you should contemplate if you're going to write a comment. 1, not all comments are created equal. To write a solid comment, you need to have tension between the lower court and appellate court opinions. The lower court decision needs to have been reversed by the appellate court, which allows you to examine why the appellate court held it differently. You can also write about an important case of first impression. Second consideration is to avoid district court opinions. It is not advisable to write a comment on a district court opinion. There is simply not enough substance, and it usually lacks the significance required for a comment. All right, so let's dive into Lexis Plus, deal with some comment searches. First one we want to do is use cases that have been reversed, right? So we're going to come down here to Explore, to Content, and we're going to open up Cases. From here, we're going to select the United States Court of Appeals. Now you notice from this next screen, I can search all of the courts of appeals, or I can click Select Sources to Search and choose to search one or several courts. I am going to stay and search all of them. Now, in order to do this search in a super easy and effective way, we're going to use an advanced form of searching called segment searching. To access that, I'm going to click on Advanced Search right here. Now, segment searching enables you to narrow a search to just a portion or a segment of a document, such as the judge who wrote the opinion, the author of the law review, the title of the statute, the headline of the news article, etc. And all the segments differ depending on content type. So we're here in Cases with the segments for cases. What I want to do is scroll down till I get to the outcome segment. And in that box, I'm going to type this search. This search will retrieve cases where the outcome was a reversal. Now I'm going to click Search. Lexis Plus uses what is called semantic searching. So it'll not only find the direct matches of your search terms, but also the underlying meaning and intent of your search. What does this mean? It means that this search will find all versions of reverse within 10 words of judgment or judgments or decree or decrees. Now, as I mentioned, we need to use recent cases here. So I'm going to come over to the post search filter of timeline. I'm going to scroll up until 2022. There we go. And I'm going to click OK. Now I have cases from the past year and a half or so with the outcome as a reversal. I'm now going to click on Sort By and reorganize the list by date, newest to oldest. So I'm immediately viewing the most recent cases. Now you can go through these cases, or I can come over and narrow again to a particular court using the court filter, or I can narrow to specific cases that discuss a certain issue that interests me by typing that issue in search within results. Now, you will notice when I was mentioning before about Lexis Plus AI and how you could access it from the experience bar, notice that it also floats over here as what we like to call the persistent assistant. So suppose I'm reading here and I want to learn more about this Adkins case. I can come over here and click on the persistent assistant, make sure I'm in summarize a case, and I can then come back here and highlight my citation, copy it, paste it in, and what will happen now is now I'm engaging with AI. So you can see my input is the citation, and it is starting to generate a response. It will now give me a summary of this case, right? Which will be very helpful for me to decide whether or not I want to write about this case at all, right? So I then have the procedural posture. I have an overview of the case itself. I have its holdings here, and I have the outcome. So this is an easy way to figure out if this is something I want to write about. And summarize a case works with both published and unpublished opinions. So it can be super helpful. So I'm going to close this out. Now we're going to talk about writing a comment using cases of first impression. So I'm going to click on Lexis Plus AI to come back to my home page. Again, I'm going to come back down to Explore and to Content and to Cases. I'm going to click Open Cases. Now you can choose here for looking for cases of first impression to go into all federal or all states, depending upon your preference. I'm going to go into all federal. Again, we're going to do that segment searching. I'm going to come down to Overview, and I'm going to put in first impression. Now, when you're searching for an exact phrase like first impression, you always want to put it in quotes. So this search will find all cases where the legal and factual overview of the case discusses an issue of first impression. And again, now we need to narrow this down. So I'm going to come to the timeline filter. I'm going to narrow this to 2022. And I'm going to click the up arrow and reorganize this again by date newest to oldest. So I now have cases dealing with issues of first impression. I can again narrow it by court. Again, I could narrow it with the search within results by issues. So I have a lot of things to work with here. So those are comment searches. I'm going to come back to Lexis Plus AI. And now we're going to talk about note topics. And before we get into that, once again, I'm going to talk about some considerations. Got 5 preliminary considerations for you. So there are 4 common elements to published notes. Published notes are 1, current, 2, relevant, 3, writable, and 4, interesting to the reader or to the writer, and sometimes both. So how do you get from what should I write about to a publishable note? Here are those 5 considerations. 1, choose a topic that interests you. You are going to spend most of this academic year working on your note. If you are selected for publication, you will most likely spend part of your summer and the next academic year polishing it. Once published, it will come up in job interviews for a long time. In a sense, you are about to get married to your topic, so make sure you are in love. 2, You need to make a real argument. A note will be passed over for publication if it fails to do this. What does this mean? There must be a legally significant opposing point of view or views for you to thoughtfully analyze. 3, no one cares what you think. Now that sounds harsh, but a note is not all about what you think about a topic. It is a legal argument that can be subjected to analysis and interpretation. You need numerous supporting sources and should be footnoting almost every sentence. 4, timing is everything. Initially, a new controversy for a topic. While interesting, these topics tend to be preempted or not yet ripe. Your topic cannot be so novel that there are no sources. There needs to be time for legislatures to act, for courts to rule, and for legal scholars to research and write. Your topic can also not be so done that you will bring nothing significant to the legal discussion. You should also think about the fact that your note will not be published for more than a year after you begin writing, so you want to choose something that will not be overanalyzed by that time. Bottom line, you should be looking for topics that emerged 12 to 24 months ago and are current, original, relevant to your journal, and arguable. And consideration number 5, start now. Start thinking about your note topic now. You may think it is not difficult to quickly come up with a topic that meets all the above criteria and is not preempted. You would be wrong. So let's jump into note topic searches. One way to find a note topic is using circuit splits. A circuit split exists, as we all know, when 2 or more circuits disagree on the application of law on the same issue. A circuit split screams note topic as it addresses an unresolved legal issue that could potentially end up in front of the Supreme Court. For example, if the Second Circuit says X and the First Circuit says Y to resolve the same issue, a note can discuss both courts' opinions, their impacts, and how the issue should be resolved. Circuit splits, however, what I just described was very stark, right? But circuit splits can also be nuanced, but no less important. For example, a court of appeals can deepen an existing circuit split with a different analysis, or there can be splits within a panel of a court of appeals. So first, we're going to use Lexis Plus AI to find circuit splits. So I'm going to click it here in the bar so we have it for the full screen. And I'm going to click Start New Conversation, and I'm going to be asking it a legal question. I'm going to type, what do you know about emerging circuit splits in 2024? That's my prompt. And because I've said circuit splits, I don't have to specify a jurisdiction. The system is smart enough to know that that means I'm in a federal level. And you can see it goes into a conversational style, right? Here's me, here's the system generating the response, and I can't ask a question further because this is a conversation and I need to wait for the response to generate. It generally takes about 30 to 45 seconds for it to generate its response, right? So it then starts to tell me there's several emerging circuit splits, and it starts to provide me a few. So I can see that there's a notable circuit split involving 18 U.S.C. 3582. I can see one with 18 U.S.C. 666, another one on excessive force, etc. It then gives me the content that supported the generated AI response, so I can engage with it, do a deeper dive, examine it, verify it, etc. Right? And so I can then summarize all this case law authority if this is something of interest to me, or I can take even a deeper dive. Okay, so those were circuit splits emerging in 2024. I can ask a follow-up question. What do you know about emerging circuit splits in 2024 in labor and employment law, if that is of interest to me, right? Again, I click, and again, it goes into this conversational search. And you can choose any area of law that is of interest to you, right? And again, it will generate a response now focused on emerging circuit splits in 2024 in labor and employment law. Just so you know, I've typed in these prompts. There are always prompt tips here to help you type in more effective prompts. And every one of the conversations that you're having are saved over here in My Conversations. You may delete them all. delete them individually, and you may search them. Close that out of the way while it generates the response. There we go. And now, once again, it starts setting forth the significant circuit splits in labor and employment law. Right, and I can see arbitration provisions, class waivers. And again, I can engage with the content. And do note, you can copy, print, email, or download any of this information as well. Okay, so now we're going to go back to legal research and engage with Lexis Plus about circuit splits. This is the classic circuit split search. We're going to type circuit within 2 words, split or disagree in the search box. And I'm going to click search. Now we have to start obviously narrowing this down. The first thing I want to do is come over here to court. And I want to narrow it to just the federal courts. I don't want to have state courts that are referencing a circuit split. Obviously, that is not helpful to me at all. The second thing I want to do is remove the Supreme Court. I don't want any discussions of circuit splits that are already resolved. Then again, you guessed it, I need to go to the timeline filter and narrow this down to about the past 1.5 years or so. And then I'm going to come back to the top and narrow it, reorganize it by date, newest to oldest. Now you notice my terms here each have their own color. This is search terms map, and it allows you to quickly focus on your search terms. And this search terms map is on 35 different content types, including statutes, secondary materials, regulations, news, etc., which will make your note research so much easier. And so we can see here, circuit split, the Ninth Circuit disagreed. By the way, they are frequently the ones who are creating circuit splits, right? In light of the circuit split exists, etc. Now you could start going through these. You could narrow down by particular courts, like the Ninth Circuit, if you think they'd be active. If you also have a topic you're interested in to see if there is a circuit split about that, you can use search within results to retrieve cases involving circuit splits on a legal issue. So I can type circuit within 2 split or disagree within 25 privilege. Right? Click search, and this will then start to find me circuit splits involving privilege. And you can see that shows up in yellow, so I can see where it relates to my other terms. And you can also see here, there's an example of an intra-circuit split, unanimously disagreeing. They're still split on whether documents withheld by an agency is deliberative, must be accounted for in a privilege log, etc. Now I'm going to come up here and remove my search within results search, because now what I want to do is use legal news to find circuit splits. Researching a potential note topic in the news is great because reporters will write about cutting-edge controversial topics. So I can take this same search, come over here, and go into legal news. Now I can come over here and just reorganize the news, right? By date, newest to oldest. And Lexis Plus contains over 26,000 news sources, including Law 360 and ALM news publications such as The American Lawyer, the New York Law Journal, the New Jersey Law Journal, Legal Times, and the National Law Journal. So I can come in here and find some disagreements, some circuit splits to work with. Another search in news that is helpful for circuit splits, and I'm going to return to the main page, is called News Text Blogs. It is a source, and I'm going to type it in here, and you can see it there, which is a collection of over 6,000 web blogs. And when you know the name of a source, you can just type it directly into the search box. So I'm going to type that in, select it, and again, it brings me to that segment searching page. I now want to find all the news text blogs that have a discussion of circuit split in their title. I'm going to click search. And I'm then going to come here and turn these around and look at them from newest to oldest. So I now have the blogs talking about fairly recent circuit splits. Now, let's say I scroll down here and I see this, that the en banc Fifth Circuit solidifies a circuit split on flavored ENDS products, right? But I can tell this is not long, right? It's only 726 words. So let's say this interests me. I read the short blog, but I need to know more. I again can open Lexis Plus AI, the persistent assistant. I can click Start a New Conversation, and I can say, discuss the circuit split on flavored ENDS products. And again, it goes into that conversational search. And again, I do not have to select a jurisdiction because it is smart enough to know that by circuit split, I am talking about being on a federal level. And you can see it formulates my query. It then goes into the primary sources, it goes into the secondary sources, and then it comes back with a discussion of that notable circuit split on the regulation of ENDS products. What I think is super helpful here is, again, it's giving a deeper dive than this blog. So I can come down here, I can get the full-blown discussion of the split, and then get a nice summary of it, so I can see if it's something I can work with. And again, I can then engage with the materials, I can summarize the case law authority, etc. So I'm going to close that out. Now, I'm going to return back to Lexis Plus AI for another search. Some notes are not written on circuit splits. Do not think that every note is on a circuit split. Some are written on legislation that's being challenged in the courts. The note explores the legislation, how the courts have interpreted it, and the impact of the dispute. So here is a helpful search to find challenges to legislation. So law or legislation within 5 words, challenge or lawsuit. Okay, we're going to click search. Now, we are not going to look in case law because we want something where they're challenging it now, not something where it's already been challenged. So I'm going to come to more, and I'm going to select legal news. I am then, again, going to reorganize this by date, right? So I can then go through these and see if there's anything that is interesting to me about challenging various laws currently. Okay. Now, once again, we're going to return back to Lexis Plus AI. Another helpful news source is Law 360 Legal News. And again, once you know a source, you can type it straight into the search box. I'm going to click on Law 360. There we go. And again, it takes me to that segment searching page. Law 360 publishes over 220 news articles every business day that cover breaking news and in-depth issues across 40+ practices and industries. And it also publishes an average of 300 news analysis and feature articles each month. It's a great source for note topics and for staying current on legal news and trends. So it is included in legal news, but you can also do your own searches within it, right? So I can come here, and one of my favorite searches in order to find a note topic is to type this: cases to watch in 2024, in quotes, and then click search. What happens now is you're now going to have lists of cases by practice area and jurisdiction that are expected to be significant in 2024. So you can come and access all of these, right? And you can do this again with cases to watch in 2023 as well. Another way to find a possible note topic is to use Lexis Plus AI. Let's say, and I'm going to pop open Lexis Plus AI, that you have an idea about a topic, right? But you don't know a lot about it yet. It's been, you read a small news article about it, an associate in the office has mentioned it, that kind of thing. So you can ask Lexis Plus AI what it knows. Excuse me. So you can say, what do you know about the FTC's final rule banning non-compete agreements, right? And once again, I do not have to say that this is a federal jurisdiction because I'm telling it that it's a federal agency. And once again, I don't have to write out everything because this is a conversation. The system is smart enough when I say FTC to know that I'm talking about the Federal Trade Commission, not, thinking it's a word or something else. It then again proceeds to give me an answer to the question. And again, what I think is helpful for notes, it's giving me links to content that I can now examine, do a deeper dive, verify, engage with to see if this is going to be helpful to me, something I might want to write about, if there's an angle here that actually would be helpful. So that's another way to find a note topic. Now we're going to dive over here and pick practical guidance out of the experience bar. Practical guidance is where you're going to find step-by-step how-to practice notes, checklists, and forms that cover a transaction or a task from beginning to end. And this practical guidance comes from over 1,700 practicing attorney authors from 98 of the AmLaw 100 firms and covers, let me scroll down so you can see it all, the 26 practice areas you see here. For our purposes today, we are going to engage with tools and resources. So I'm going to come over here and click View All. The first source in here that I think is really helpful for note topics is Legal Developments. I'm going to click on that, and Legal Developments gives you analysis and end-to-end coverage of emerging legal developments in the 26 practice areas that you see here. Let's try that again. There we go. All right, so you can come in here and it brings together all of the resources you need to get up to speed on new developments and follow them as additional information and issues emerge, right? So you want to scroll to one of those 26 areas of law that are of interest to you. So let's say I come down here to bankruptcy and I say, and you can see you have the dates next to everything so you can see if it's current. And I say, oh, this is of interest to me. I can then open it up and then it's going to give me an entire explanation as to what's going on, and it's going to link me to related content so I can get in here and engage and see if this is something that would be interesting to me. Another tool and practical guidance that is helpful for note topic research, and I'm just going to return back to practical guidance here, and then back to tools and resources, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit, is Trackers. What Trackers does is it monitors statutory, case law, and regulatory developments in the 26 practice areas, right? So I can see the practice areas all here. So you can come here and pick a practice area that interests you. So let's say I say labor and employment. It then gives me different issues within labor and employment law that can be tracked. In addition, most helpful for notes is it gives you a current key legal developments tracker for the particular area of law you're in. So for labor and employment here. So you notice I have it for all the states and federal. It's updated twice a week. And I can come down here and it will give me the key development. It'll describe it. And if it involves a case, a regulation, or a statute, you can link directly to it. And it also includes the date of the development was effective and any related practical guidance content that explains development in detail. So that's comment searching and note topic searching. We are now going to come back to the legal research page, and I'm going to talk a bit about what preemption checking is before we engage with preemption checking. So preemption checking is a vital part of the publication process. A thorough preemption check assures the originality of your work, which increases the odds it will be published. Your initial preemption check can also help you refine a broad topic by suggesting alternate search terms, showing you what has already been discussed and argued, and presenting unexplored theories. Preemption checking is an ongoing process. It is imperative to run frequent checks on your topic to make sure it remains unique. In addition, if your note changes its focus, you must make sure those changes are reflected in your preemption check. You need to read any article that concerns you to make sure you are not preempted. Do not assume it is okay because it seems that way from the first few paragraphs. So, what does it mean to be preempted? The essence of preemption is that you cannot write an article that someone else has already written. Do not, however, get hung up on trying to find a note topic that no one else has ever written about. If your article moves the legal discussion forward, it is okay if the issue has been examined by others. With that in mind, here are some rough guidelines on what it means to not be preempted. Of course, these are always subject to the policies of your journal. 1. If you find an article that has been written on your topic, but it is several years old, and some new and interesting legal developments have since occurred, you are not preempted. 2. If you find an article that makes your argument, but comes to a different conclusion and there have been significant changes in the law, you are not preempted. 3. If you find an article that has been written on your topic, but you are writing a legally valid opposing argument, you are not preempted. 4. If you find an article that is 6 sections long and one section is on your topic, you are not preempted. A section of an article is usually about 5 to 6 pages. If your entire proposed article is preempted by a section of another article, you did not have a solid topic in the first place. 5. If you find an article that has a similar introduction as your proposed article, that does not automatically preempt you. You cannot write in a vacuum. Articles on the same topic will have similar setups. You should think of the introduction as a foundation of a house. It is fine if you have a similar foundation as another article, if the rest of your house is built in a different manner. And finally, point 6. If you find an article that makes a different argument on your topic, but comes to the same conclusion, you are probably not preempted. In fact, this is usually a good thing, since you might be able to mine the conflicting article for resources. You are preempted if you find a relatively recent article, the date here will vary depending on your chosen topic, that makes the same argument and comes to the same conclusion, and 1, you can't or don't want to argue the opposite side. Again, remember, this will be with you for a very long time. Or 2, it covers every aspect of your topic. So, today I'm going to focus on the 2 most common preemption checks. 1, a Shepard's preemption check, and 2, a term preemption check. Lexis Plus has over 800 law reviews and journals, so you know your preemption check will be thorough. Shepard's preemption check. Now, Shepard's has been the standard in the legal industry for over 150 years. A Shepard's preemption check is used when your proposed topic focuses on a case or a statute to such an extent that you can say that any article that preempts you would have to cite it. So let's say you're saying that about this case. So I'm going to type F540 F3rd 231 in the search box and click search. So you're now saying that in order to preempt you, the article would have to cite the Combs case. So the main components of the Shepard's report appear at the top of the case. We want to click on Other Citing Sources to retrieve everything that has cited your case besides cases. So you can see there's a total of 211 sources, but we only want law reviews. So I'm going to click on Law Reviews. Now you need to review these resulting 66 articles to see if they preempt you. If you are absolutely positive that in order to preempt you, they would have to cite Combs and then, let's say, discuss homeschooling, you can add that issue of homeschooling here and then review those resulting articles. So that's a Shepard's preemption check. I'm going to return to the main screen here and talk about the other preemption check, which is a term preemption check. This is the more common of the 2. A term preemption check is a search through law reviews and journals to make sure there are not articles extensively discussing your topic. When constructing a term preemption check, you need to ask yourself what terms or phrases would be in an article discussing your topic and how they would appear in the article. Right? So for example, an initial preemption check on issues with employers' drug testing for marijuana might look like this. cannabis or marijuana within 25 words of employer, within 25 words of drug, within 5 words of screening or testing, right? I'm going to click search. We're going to pick secondary materials. And we're going to narrow to law reviews and journals. Now, you want to have your topic narrowed down to the point where this general search retrieves somewhere between 20 and 250 results, approximately, okay? That's not hard and set numbers, but everybody likes to hear some sort of number here. The reason I give these numbers is this: too few results, like 3, indicate that the topic is so novel that you will have little to say. Too many results, 872, indicate the topic is so done that it'll be difficult for you to bring something significant to the discussion unless a new substantial issue has just developed. So how do you review these articles to make sure you're not preempted? We're going to use this first one to show you. You want to read the title, the date of the publication, and your highlighted terms in context. Now, search terms maps makes this reviewing even easier, right? The part with the blue stars where my terms are the meatiest, but I can click all the way through without opening the article to get a flavor of what is going on. If this combination convinces you that the article could possibly preempt you, you need to review it. So we're going to open up, we'll pretend that we feel this could preempt us. Almost every single article does the following. You want to scroll down. If there's a highlight, a syllabus, a summary, ignore it. You want to go down to the introduction section and look for where they're setting forth exactly what they're going to discuss. And that starts right here. This note posits, and then they go in part 1, I'm going to talk about this, right? And then I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to talk about this. Part 2, we'll talk about this. This is what you read. You read this to determine what is going on. So if you feel it doesn't preempt you, great, you go back to your search. Or if you think a part may be a problem, you go read it. Or if you think the entire article may be a problem, you go read it, right? And you do this for each one of these articles. Now, I want you to note the bell icon right here at the top of the page. This is an alert, okay? And I'm just going to click the bell icon so you can see this in front of you. Alerts will increase the efficiency of your research by automatically tracking newly added relevant materials. This is an effortless way to have relevant materials delivered directly to your email and/or stored online for quick retrieval and review. You control how often you wish to be updated, and you can always edit or delete your alerts. I'm just going to hit cancel here by clicking on the alerts bell in the black bar at the top of the page. Once you have your final topic, you will want to set up an alert on it to monitor law reviews and journals for any potential preemption issues and to monitor other sources for helpful research updates. You can set up an alert on a search, term preemption check, like here, or on a Shepherd's report, the Shepherd's preemption check. Final 2 points. Don't forget about folders, right? Saving and organizing research with folders is extraordinarily helpful. Want to emphasize that 1, the version of the document in your folder will always be the most up-to-date version, and this includes Shepherd signals. And 2, if you added notes to or highlighted text in a document, then saved it to a folder, the document you will see when running a subsequent search will contain your notes and highlights. And obviously, the source you saved in the folder will contain them as well. And please note that any notes or highlights you make to a document will be saved on that document, even if you do not save it to a folder. And finally, history. Keeping track of your research is always easy. History automatically remembers your research from the last 90 days. You can permanently save material by placing it in folders. And history is sortable and searchable, and your search activity can be printed, downloaded, or emailed. I hope you found this training helpful, and thank you so very much for your time.